I have a question. Is it common that more people come for home programs than for gatherings at the temple? Is it just, it's bad weather, or is it common, or what? Anybody have an answer?
More friends come. When you have a home program, their friends come.
Yeah. So, that's my experience as well. And that way also, newer people come because they're coming because of social obligation, because it's somebody's home and a friendship, so they come. But if it's a temple, they don't have the same social obligation, so they won't come. Something like that?
Yes.
So going into the future, it's just an idea, but to accommodate the nice devotees in the Farmington Hills area, some home in the Farmington Hills area for an evening gathering. It's just an idea. And let's also see how many people show up fashionably late. Indian Standard Time. There's a nice corporate Indian devotee that makes a joke about, American Standard Time. When there's meetings, you're there at least 7 minutes before the meeting. Because it's just part of the American standard. When there's a time for something to begin, you're there so you can do your social thing at the beginning, and then when it's time to begin, you begin. Now, I don't know if it really works that way in corporate America, but it's just the reverse. He calls it America Standard Time. You're there 7 minutes early, 7 to 8 minutes early. So the topic that I wanted to discuss this evening, a little different. Some things that I learned a lot, but some of the things that I learned in the month of October by visiting Nasik and Hampi, because one of the things that I really like in Krishna consciousness is Srimad Bhagavatam, and diving deeply into the messages of Srimad Bhagavatam, and then discussing those topics. Katayantas chamam nityam tushanti cha ramanti cha, that idea. And discussing and sharing in the association of devotees who like to relish the Bhagavatam topics. And tushanti and ramanti is very satisfying and very pleasing to the heart. So that's something I really like to do. I'll do that tomorrow night with Dhruva. But another something that has become part of what I do, most of you know because it's been shared before here in Detroit. Some years back, maybe 30 years back, devotees were asking, during the month of Kartik, can we go together to places where Krishna performed his pastimes and discuss those pastimes in the places? So we started doing that, groups of us, and it was kind of group. Vrindavan, then Mayapur, then Puri. Then Vrindavan and Mayapur and Puri, and then Vrindavan and Mayapur and Puri. And they said, can we go to some other places too? And the logistics are really easy in those 3 places because you just stay in one place and you go out and you come back. So meals and lodging and everything's very simple. Then you start going to other places and you have to move around. I was a little intimidated, but we did it anyways. And so, South India, where Lord Chaitanya traveled, we didn't complete, so part 2, another time. Where's next? So we went to Dwarka, and I learned a lot. It's not just the city of Dwarka, it's underwater, but you know, the pastimes of Krishna in that area, and there's a lot. It took the full 10, 12 days just to visit and hear the topics of Krishna in Dwarka. Then Ayodhya. I'd never been to Ayodhya. And Chitrakoot. So those of you that are familiar with Ramayana, these are, Chitrakoot. I didn't know so much about Chitrakoot. I knew a little, but it's a really fantastic place. Those of you that have been there, you know it's not spoiled, it's not commercial, it's not packed up, but really devotional. The mood is evident for generations and generations and generations of people of that place, the elderly people, the sadhus and the ladies and the people that live there. It's a very special place. And then, that covered to go to those places, Balakanda and Ayodhya Kanda. And then, the obvious next was, what about after Ram leaves Chitrakoot? And looking at the map, it was, gosh, how are we going to do that? But we did it. And having spent some time with the Balakanda and Ayodhya Kanda, I came to understand that the Sri Vaishnava Acharyas have written abundant commentary on Ramayana. I didn't have an idea how much, but now I do. Much like followers of Lord Chaitanya have the Acharyas in the line of Lord Chaitanya and before Lord Chaitanya, abundant commentary on Krishna's pastimes, particularly Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, but other, and commentaries and writings, and abundant. So I came to know there similarly in the Sri Vaishnava tradition, there's abundant commentary on Ramayana. So a team was created, and they ended up spending 1,500 hours, that's a lot of time, from Tamil to English, commentaries of 4 of the primary acharyas that commented on most, just like we have many commentaries on the Bhagavatam and many commentaries or stories about the life of Lord Chaitanya. And there's some most prominent ones. So, now I'm going to share some of the things that I've learned. The Sri Vaishnava line, the way that it works is, prior to Madhvacharya, it's not that there wasn't teachings in the line of Madhvacharya, Brahma, and then the line goes Madhva, because Madhva took the teachings of that line from Brahma and very systematically organized it and presented, especially commentary on Vedanta Sutra, in the line of the Madhva view. So, Ramanujacharya similarly took the teachings from the previous acharyas and systematically presented it, commenting specifically on Vedanta Sutra, but other writings, Bhagavad Gita writings, and other writings. So the principal spiritual master, Ramanujacharya, his biography describes 5 primary spiritual masters. Of course, one of them was the Diksha Guru, who gave him the mantra, and there were 4 others that were principal persons that he looked to receive the teachings of the Sampradaya, which he systematically encoded. Who was Ramanujacharya's principal spiritual master? Ramanujacharya's principal spiritual master was Jamunacharya. Jamunacharya. So Jamunacharya, long story about his life, but he viewed Ramayana in a very special way amongst all writings, Valmiki Ramayana specifically. And he didn't give writings, but he gave teachings extensively to Sri Shailapurna, his disciple. One might say Sri Shailapurna was the primary student of Jamunacharya because Ramanujacharya never physically, personally had dialogue with him. But Sri Shailapurna did. The relationship, there's a family relationship. Sri Shailapurna is the brother of Ramanujacharya's mother, so his maternal uncle. So like the age of his father. But they were both disciples of Jamunacharya, and there's a description of how the circumstances under which Ramanujacharya learned from Sri Shailapurna the details of Jamunacharya's teachings on Ramayana. It goes like this. Sri Shailapurna resided in Tirupati, Tirumala, and he worshipped there and he lived there, and that was his place where he carried on his devotional life. Ramanujacharya went to visit him, and when word came to Sri Shailapurna way up on the top of the hill that Ramanujacharya had come, he was very elderly, and he came all the way down the hill to receive him. And Ramanujacharya responded saying, "You're such an elevated Vaishnava, you should have sent some junior person to come receive me." And Sri Shailapurna's reply was, "Well, I searched for such a person, I couldn't find one, so, because everyone is more advanced to me, so I came myself." He was moved and very humble. And Ramanujacharya stayed with him for an extended period of time, hearing every day about Jamunacharya's teachings about Ramayana. And then Ramanujacharya in turn passed it on to his disciples, who in turn wrote commentaries according to what he explained to them. And then 550 years later, it's kind of like the time between when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared and our present age, around that much time had passed, when Govindaraj, who was residing in Tirumala, worshipping his deity, had a dream in which the main deity of Tirupati appeared in his dream and instructed, ordered him to write commentary on Ramayana. And so he did. And that commentary, Govindaraj's commentary, is considered most comprehensive, most thorough, most elevated, something like, in our line, Krishnadas Kaviraj's life and teachings of Lord Chaitanya is considered superlative. Before he wrote, chronologically, there were others that wrote. They had direct first-hand experience of Lord Chaitanya. Vrindavan Das Thakur, for example, wrote a biography. from his experience in Navadvip, without all the details. Many others wrote, but in time, the Krishnadas, being the learned person, elder person, senior person that he was requested by the Vaishnavas, "This will be forgotten in time, please write it down." And he was reluctant, feeling not qualified, because that was his quality. And so he consulted, took permission from all the Vaishnavas from Vrindavan, the senior Vaishnavas from Vrindavan, got their blessings, and he began. And as he wrote, "I don't know if I'm going to live to complete this." He did complete it. And today is considered the most comprehensive, exhaustive, thorough, philosophically supported treatise on the life and teachings of Lord Chaitanya. That's why Prabhupada chose to translate it into English for us. So similarly, Govindaraja's commentary. There are others, prominent ones, and there's lesser than the prominent ones. But from that writing of Govindaraja, one of the things that he presents, which I am going to share with you now, is Jamunacharya taught that there are 18 principal lessons or outstanding thematic messages of Ramayana for all Vaishnavas. One of the prominent parts that covers several of the 18 is the principle of Sharanagati. The whole of Ramayana is explaining Sharanagati. Now in our line, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explained in 86 songs Sharanagati. And now that I've come in contact with what Govindaraj wrote, that what Ramanujacharya taught, what Sri Shailapurna taught, what Jamunacharya taught, there are many things within Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writings that are one-to-one similar. I mean, I don't know if that means he drew from, or they just happen to be similar, or what. I don't know that history. But they're so similar, it's just amazing. Here's a couple of the 18. According to Jamunacharya, Ramayana presents a commentary on Gayatri Mantra. Now, we know from our tradition, Srimad Bhagavatam is a commentary on Gayatri Mantra, correct? And that our acharyas reveal how it is so. Govindaraja writes, here's how it is so, that Ramayana is a commentary on Gayatri Mantra. And so forth and so on. So, one of the 18 items is the necessity to enter into Sharanagati. There must be someone who serves as an intermediary, at least that's the translation from Tamil to English that I received. An intermediary between Bhagavan and the bhakta, or the potential bhakta. And kind of a little bit over here for many of you, but it maybe is useful for you to know that the Protestant faith, one of the major tenets of all the Protestant faiths is you don't need an intermediary. because it was protesting abuse by the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church says, between you and God, there's the Pope. And the Pope is the head of the Church, and you need, the head of the Church to bless you so that you can get close to God. And then, under the Pope is a whole structure, and part of Protestant faith was objecting to the abuse of the power of the heads of the Church. Not only the Pope, but bishops and archbishops and people, without the detail. Well, here's a detail. The very term Protestant is derived from, they were protesting what was called sale of indulgences. In the Sanskrit language, when there's sin, there's a process of atonement. The Sanskrit word is prayashchitta. So in the Catholic Church, the atonement process is you go to the church, the priest sits in a confession box, so it's private. You confess your sins, and then the priest then blesses you. You can become free from the sin, having confessed the sin, by saying so many Hail Marys and putting something in the hundi box. And then the priest would empty the hundi box, and it was his money. That was the sale of indulgences. It was something like the abuse of the authority for sacrifice of animals, and the temples became the place where animals were sacrificed, and it was being protested against. So the Protestant faith grew out of protesting sale of indulgences, and so then it started going this direction, that direction, different Protestant faiths. Objecting to you don't need an intermediary. I'm mentioning that because even in the Protestant faith, then you have a priest. You go to the priest. They have the intermediary principle, but there's no disciplic succession. Anyway, in Ramayana, to help explain the necessity of an intermediary, well, I'll say one other thing first. During the Christmas time, we have a winter retreat in Chicago, and one of the theme during that time together was following the great souls, following in the footsteps from Acharyas and the Bhagavatam, how to get the mercy of Krishna. One of the songs that we circulated, we didn't sing it, but it was a prayer to the Vaishnava, O Vaishnav Thakur, by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, appealing for his association. Then the next line in Bengali, of course, was, when I have the opportunity to get your kind association, I'll disclose my heart of all the difficulties and troubles that I'm having to endure. Then the third line is, on my behalf, you'll appeal to the personality of Godhead to show kindness upon this suffering soul. And then the next verse is, by the combined mercy of the personality of Godhead and O Vaishnav Thakur, I may get some mitigation of my distress and reawaken my loving attraction for simply service to you, the personality of Godhead. It's a principle, this intermediary principle. So Govindaraja explains it like this, and I'm going to now little Ramayana Katha from the Aranyakanda and Kishkinda Kanda. the personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, Krishna, says in Bhagavad Gita, there are three main functions that he performs every time he descends in this world. Famous verse, chapter 4. You ready? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chatuskratam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. We all know the verse. And Govindaraja explains there are two main turning points in Ramayana, and only in those two are the only times that Valmiki uses the word yadrichchaya. You familiar with that word from the Bhagavatam? Yadrichchaya is translated somehow or other, inexplicably, no apparent reason. Yadrichchaya, like causeless mercy. Yadrichchaya. That yadrichchaya word is used in two circumstances. One, when Mantra and Kaikeyi do their thing, and the other is when Suparnika does her thing. And he explains that yadrichchaya impetus is Ram. Being situated in the heart of Mantra and Kaikeyi, he inspired them to do what they did. And he inspired them to do what they did for multiple reasons, because one of the features, one of the qualities of Krishna is he's expert, and that expertise is through one thing he accomplishes many things. So Ram wanted to accomplish inspiring, enhancing the primary rasa of the devotees in Ayodhya by sorrow. That's sounding contradictory. How do you enhance the primary rasa by sorrow? Well, they didn't want to see him be banished to the forest for 14 years. They wanted him to become king, and neither of those was going to happen. And so it struck the heart of different devotees in a different feature of sorrow that serves to enhance the primary rasa. Secondary rasas enhance primary rasas. Right? Nectar devotion. So that's something he wanted. To stimulate their ecstatic love for him in that way. So he did it. But there was another purpose, and that was Pritanaya Sadhuna. In the Dandak forest, there were sages that were very much wanting his association. They were absorbed through penance and austerity and ascetic life to get closer to him. Their minds were fixed upon him within their heart in the Paramatma feature, but they wanted his personal association. So he wanted to reciprocate and give his personal association. So it was arranged that instead of becoming king, he was banished to the forest to give his association to the sages. That's one of the 18 items. By the bhakti principle, the Lord, you don't have to go find the Lord, He'll find you. Like in the Dhruva story. Lord Vishnu came to him. He's like the sage. Only he was on the fast forward in 6 months. The sages in the Dandak forest, they were there for long periods of time, hankering, so he came. But he was banished for 14 years and he hadn't killed any demons in about 12 and a half of those 14 years. So another Yadrich Chaya event took place. That is, Shuparnika did the Shuparnika program. Inspired by Ram to do what she did. So what she did precipitated Kara and Dushan coming to kill Ram, and Ram killed 14,000 Rakshasas. Right? That was getting on with business, right? What Shuparnika did precipitated a whole other shift in Ramayana's story. And then one of the soldiers of the 14,000, he, out of fear, he ran. Ram didn't kill him because he doesn't shoot soldiers from behind. And he went all the way back to Lanka and informed Ravana what happened. Ravana was furious, and he was, I'm going to get back. And the messenger said, better be careful, 14,000 soldiers, one man, he's not a human. Now you have this benediction against demigods, you can't be destroyed by demigods, but I don't know who he is. But he's very powerful, better be careful. I have a practical suggestion. What's that? Now you say, without you killing me, because, you know, Ravana flies off the handle all the time. So he got the protection of Ravana, and he said, his dear wife Sita, if she is separated from Ram, he won't be able to live. If you can figure out a way to get Sita separated from Ram, you can defeat Ram. He'll be weakened, and then you can defeat him. And my suggestion is, Marisha knows how to assume different forms, take assistance from Risha, and she's lovely. She'd make, you know, a wonderful asset to your harem. He liked it. Specifically, he didn't go publicly, he snuck out the back door. We didn't say back door. He went to fetch his chariot. Now normally, somebody like Ravana doesn't go fetch his chariot, he has somebody fetch his chariot. But it was sneaking out the back door, because he didn't want, you know, the secret to be known, that he was concerned about the power of Ram, so he was doing this secretive thing. So he went to Maricha. There's like a wonderful description of his travel to get there. When he reached there, Maricha received him very nicely, because Ravan is a powerful head of all the Rakshasas, and Maricha is one of the Rakshasas. So he respected him as the, you know, the senior leader. And he asked Ravan very politely, you know, why is it you come to visit me? It's a long journey to come here. Ravan explained the whole thing. What he wanted him to do. Why he was there, what he wanted him to do. He wanted him to help kidnap Sita. Maricha paled and was speechless. And after some time he spoke, and he expressed the, you know, really strong language. Whoever has advised you like this is your greatest enemy. This is very unwise. It will bring not only death to you, but the ruination of the entire Rakshasa dynasty. You have no idea how powerful is Ram. You're Mr. Powerful. He's more powerful. You have no idea how powerful. And he gave his little explanation of what happened. Because Maricha, as you know, he was the son of Tataka. Richa and Subahu were sons of Tattaka, and Tattaka was the first demon for Ram to kill. Now I consulted with some learned devotees in the Hare Krishna movement. Why was it, this is not from Govindaraj, but why was it that the first demon that Krishna killed and the first demon that Ram killed was a woman? Govindaraj is silent on that. Our acharyas are silent on that. But there's one Vaishnav acharya who wrote a Srimad Bhagavatam commentary and was a follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu named Hari Suri. Has any of you here heard of that name, Hari? You're familiar with his work and the translation of his work?
Yeah, I heard something.
Okay. There's a devotee in India who is part of the Shastra Advisory Committee. Have you heard of that? The GBC has requested like a Brahminical council kind of thing. People that are really absorbed, they don't have managerial position, they just have very profound Shastric interest. So there's a group, the Shastra Advisory Committee, and one of those persons has begun a translation of Hari Shuri's Bhagavatam commentary. So I had never heard of this person before, Hari Shuri, so I did some research, and with the long story short, I'm satisfied that this person is a source that we can trust. There's details and details, because I kind of like press the button. Because I don't want to be, I'm going to report to you something that he wrote. And I don't want to report to you somebody, I don't know who that somebody is. So, from an authorized source, he wrote, because he made commentary on 10th canto, in both Ram and Krishna's Leela, there's a, I forget the Sanskrit term right now, there's a Sanskrit term that is used in relation to both of them, and it's a quality, that's a female quality. And when a soul becomes too much attached to this particular quality, which is a, you know, like in Bhagavad Gita, the opulences of the absolute of women, I am this, that, and the other thing. There's female qualities. So when one becomes too much attached to a worldly sense of enjoyment, something, I forget exactly, Hari Shuri says, this is the reason why the female demon was the first one killed. It's the principle of too much attached to worldly enjoyment. Something like that. I'll see if I can find the exact language from his Hari Shuri's commentary. But in any case, Tattaka was killed, Subahu was killed, and for some mysterious reason, Maricha was not killed. Instead, he was hit by an arrow, and he went flying through the air hundreds of miles, that's a powerful arrow, right? And landed in the sea, and he survived. So he said, you know, and that was when he was just 12 years old. And so many years have passed, you have no idea how powerful. Don't mess. Please think carefully before doing such a thing. So it was sobering. Maricha was known to be a fearless Rakshasa, and he's giving this advice. So he went back to Lanka to think it over. After some time, our dear Yadrichchaya Shuparnaka showed up in Lanka. And boy, is she good. She's like, she knew all of Ravana's buttons. And she pressed him. And she got her man to do what she wanted him to do. Take revenge. She wanted to drink Sita's blood. That's what she wanted. So that was part of the mission. And so off he goes again, Ravan, to go meet Maricha. And when he came again, so shortly thereafter, Maricha was surprised. Welcome, but you've come back after such a short time. Please tell me. And he said the whole thing in great detail, because he'd been thinking about it. He's a megalomaniac. He's a complete controller and had it all figured out how he's going to be able to not only defeat Ram, but enjoy Sita. So Maricha said it again. Don't mess. And in addition to what I told you before, after I got out of the sea and I went back to Lanka and spent some time in Lanka, I wasn't fearful, but I was wary of the power of Ram. And after some time with two other Rakshasas who, like me, could change shapes, we decided, let's go back to the mainland. And as deer will move about the hermitages of sages, and when they're least suspecting, because they have fangs, they jumped on the sages and devoured them and had a meal. And that was their program, the three of them. When Ram came, Maricha's telling this to Ravan. When Ram came to know, he immediately came and confronted us. I knew the power of Ram. I immediately ran. And because he wouldn't shoot me from behind, I survived. The other two of them instantly died. And since that time, I gave up being a Rakshasa. I renounced being a Rakshasa. And I'm now living like a hermit. I'm living like an ascetic in a cave. Because when I go out of the cave and I see a tree, I see Ram. When I look around and see the forest, I see so many Rams. In my dreams, I see Ram and I wake up screaming. If I even hear the word, a word that begins with the letter R, I'm in complete fear. So count me out. You're determined. Go right ahead. Here's going to be the consequence. I'm not going to be a participant in your plan. So there. And then Ravan's mood changed. Before I was asking you, now I'll threaten you. You have two choices. You can assist me or I'll kill you. And there's a longer explanation, but he said basically, I'd rather be killed by Ram than you. So I'll assist you. And then off they went, directly from his cave, and they went to where Panchavati. And Maricha did what Maricha was supposed to do, including the whole story of when he was shot by Ram's arrow, to call out loudly in a voice that sounded like Ram. So, Lakshman, Sita, help! So now, Govindaraj asked this question. He knew of the power of Ram. He may not have known him to be the personality of Godhead, but he knew of the power of Ram. So it could have been really simple. Instead of assuming the form of a deer and getting killed by Ram, he could have just taken shelter of Ram and said, over there, hiding out over there, is Ravan, and he wants to kidnap Sita. But I said no. But he said, if I don't help him, he'll kill me. So I need your protection, because you're more powerful than him for sure.
Yeah.
Protection. So what's Ram going to do? He'll give protection. No question about it. Why not? Why didn't he do that? Answer. There wasn't an intermediary. There's another detail. Why did he call up Lakshman, Sita, help? In a voice that sounded like, why did he do that? Because he wanted to get back at Ravan. That's why he did it. Because he would steal Sita and Ravan would destroy him. He knew it would happen. He wanted to destroy Ravan. And he wanted him to get the benefit of being killed by Ram too. That's why he did it. Because I was always going, why did he do that? So that's why he did it. Now, Govindaraj explains, there's another personality, Sugriva, that also was very much afraid of Ram and Lakshman. He's up on top of Rishamukh mountain and they saw these two ascetics with bow and arrow and swords and fear. Who are they? What's going on? They jumped to another mountain and what to do. But he had an intermediary. So Hanuman was sent. It's specifically said in the Valmiki Ramayana, as soon as Hanuman came before, in his disguise as a Brahmin, as soon as he came before Ram and Lakshman, he offered his obeisances. So the question is raised by Govindaraja, why did he do that? Because he's a Brahmana, and they're Kshatriyas. So Brahmanas don't offer their obeisances to Kshatriyas, it's the other way around. And the answer is, just by being in their presence, he understood. He's the personality of Godhead. They didn't have any exchange or anything, just being in his presence. He understood. And then there's more, and there's so many more things, nice things. But when Hanuman reached the conclusion, he's not only an enemy in disguise, he's not only to be trusted, he is the solution to your problem. So he took Lakshman and Ram back to Sugriva and explained everything and said, not only you should trust him, you should become friends with him. Because then all of that which is important to you will be fulfilled by having Ram as your friend. So Govindaraj says, because of the intermediary Hanuman, that was a function he was performing at that time, then the fear of Sugriva became devotion to Ram. And with Marisha, his fear of Ram didn't become devotion to Ram, simply because he didn't have an intermediary. Now, what does that have to do with us? It's interesting. Every one of us, somewhere along the line, whatever we've done in our childhood and in previous lives, somewhere along the line, somebody served as an intermediary. Somebody came along in our lives and said, Krishna Bhakti, or gave the seed of bhakti. It's an essential element in the Sharanagati process. In the Dhruva story, which we're going to hear tomorrow evening, his mother performs that function. Because whoever Dhruva was in his previous life, we don't know. He was obviously a very qualified to, in 6 months, realize the personality of Godhead, etc., etc., do what he did at 5 years of age. A very exceptional soul. Something was there from before he was born as Dhruva. And as we discussed yesterday evening, this is the beginning, not only the beginning of Satya Yuga, the beginning of the first Satya Yuga, the beginning of creation. That's long ago, Dhruva. So who was he before this creation? We don't know. It wasn't just a day of Brahma, it was creation. So anyway, Suniti, we all have such a person. It's an essential element of surrendering to Krishna. And second message, We have a function to play in the world. What's that? We can be distributors of that message of bhakti to others. Although we're, beginners and neophytes and all that, we're not Hanuman, we're not, super devotees, but we can perform that function. It's the Vartma Pradarshaka Guru function. We need someone that has bhakti and has some relationship with Krishna to remind us of that which we have forgotten, and to be our well-wisher on behalf of Krishna, or appeal to Krishna on our behalf. Prayer is powerful. It's not just, religious people do it, but it really doesn't do anything. It just makes them feel better. It's not, that's not it. The more dear you are to Krishna, the more, the purity is the force. The more purity is within your heart, the more your well wishes on behalf of another person will be effective. That's what happened to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He was like a super scholar and super proud. But because his brother-in-law, Gopinathacharya, said, one day may it happen that Lord Chaitanya will take away your pride and you become a nice devotee. When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became a devotee, Lord Chaitanya was appreciating, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, because of my brother-in-law, because he was wishing well to me like that, it happened. I'm the recipient of the well-wishing of my brother-in-law. He chastised me, but he wished me well. And therefore I become a devotee and received your mercy. And Lord Chaitanya confirmed, yes, it's true. So back to the theme here. Ramayana is an expansion in great detail about the process of surrender. There's further and further and further and further details. What I've done is I've taken those 18 points and added a little bit of text, 18 points from Govindaraj. Added a little bit of text that shows, for example, this and that and the other thing. And we printed it out, and you'll get a copy when you go home, because we're not going to pass it out now, because you'll all start reading it now. But you'll have a copy to take home. And one final thing, there's so many things, but one final thing is, there's a devotee in Mayapur named Vidvan Gauranga. I just came to know this about a few weeks ago. He is Tamil speaking, and he's made a pledge that he's going to, kanda by kanda, each year, translate Valmiki Ramayana into readable English, because those of us that don't read Hindi or Sanskrit have the old English clunky version. It's really like chewing sawdust. It's really hard. So he's a very good writer, and side by side with the Valmiki Ramayana in readable English, he's simultaneously translating Govindaraj's commentary. And he's embellishing it with other things that Gopi Pranadana has written in Brihat Bhagavatamrita commentary and so forth. Just to give you an idea, I haven't seen it, but the first kanda is published already in 3 volumes. I imagine it's thick volumes. And then this Ramnami, he will have translated the next kanda, Ayodhya kanda. I don't know how many volumes. And like that, his plan is, Krishna permitting, he'll finish the whole Valmiki Ramayana with Govindaraj's commentary, not the other 3 principal commentators. There's more than 3, the 3 principal commentators. he's not touching those, just Govindara, just because it's preeminent and most complete. So I'm sharing that with you because I like to share things. I like to learn, because this is our life. We receive and we give. That's our bhakti life. We receive from great authorities, and we try to live our lives according to what we receive from great authorities, and we try to share that with others. And that brings us happiness. It brings in the association of devotees. It's what devotees do together. Kathayantas chamam nityam. Tushanti cha ramanti cha. That's what we do. So I'm doing what we do. And see if there's some comments or questions. Yes? Yes, you raised your hand. I don't know your name. Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Maharaj, thank you so much for explaining the intricacies of how Marichi's decision in helping Ravana. At the same time, first two instances where you explained about Mantra's decision is inspired by the Supreme Lord and also Surpanaka.
And Kaikeyi as well.
Kaikeyi as well. So, is that inspiration because they have done something in the past, or here is Marichi is also in the same case? He is not a devotee.
Well, I'm not sure what you're asking. The inspiration comes from Super Soul. Ravana was inspired by Super Soul to do what Ravana did. Everyone gets whatever they get. Knowledge, remembrance, forgetfulness, everything comes from Super Soul. We're all dependent upon Super Soul. So, in that sense, yeah, Maricha, Mantra, but specifically, the commentary was saying, the whole flow of events takes a drastic shift by those two Gyadrich Chaya inspirations. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Maharaj, so you were talking before, or like at least a little earlier, about how Rama had influenced Kaikeyi and Mantra and everyone to act the way they did. I don't know if you've read Krishna Dharma's Rama, and in there I believe it said that Rama he did feel I believe it was angry or frustrated with Dashrath when he was banished. So if he influenced all this, how is he frustrated or?
I don't recall reading that in Krishna Dharma's book. You'd have to show me, the exact passage. And just as supposing it does say what you just said, there's two ways to handle something like that. At least two. One is the preponderance of information that language is. In commentaries over and over and over and over and over that I've heard on that is Ram was not at all frustrated. He was happy. One of the commentaries that I read was, I don't remember whose it was, maybe it was Krishna Dharma, when Kaikeyi spoke what Dasarath didn't want to say, his reply was, "Is that all, Mother?" I'm reading it once. And she was surprised that he didn't, resist. There's no greater happiness for me than the words of my father and upholding the words of my father. What greater happiness could I find? And he says it again and again and again and again and again to Bharata and everybody. So there's no indication that I've come across of he was feeling disappointed in his father. Rather, he was showing by principle this quality that he has of truthfulness, and upholding the truthfulness of his father is greater than his own. Because there's other truthfulnesses, the firstborn son and so forth and so on. There's truths, but he chose that one. So then there's another, when you run across something that over here it says this and over there it says that, so how to reconcile? It certainly can be that there's different commentators that have an inspiration from Krishna or Supersoul, because Supersoul is the source of inspiration for everyone. And if they're in this transcendental, not just armchair professor, smoking his pipe, pulling his chin, thinking something speculative, but if it's a great acharya writing something, then they have another perspective, another inspiration from Krishna. That differences is fine, because within that which is the source of everything, Krishna, everything exists, including this and that appear to be contradictory. So I, being a tiny person, can't understand this contradiction, but it's quite okay, because this acharya and that acharya. What I'm saying to you is found written by Bhaktisiddhanta in Brahma Samhita. He writes that differences between acharyas are not mundane differences. Because we're mundane, we see them as differences, but they're not. That's how you reconcile these. And just be patient, and as you become more mature in your Krishna conscious realization, you'll see how this is just fine and that's just fine. They're both just fine. It's in Kunti's prayers. You're familiar with Kunti's prayers? How you're filled with contradictions. You are unborn, take birth. And so on and so on. And so people have different opinions why it is that the unborn is born. And some say this, and some say that, some say the other thing, and some say the other thing. It's not that if this one's right, then that one's got to be wrong. They can all be right. But she identifies which is the superlative and conclusive answer. So that's how you handle. Over here it says this, and over there it says that. But here's what I would do. If you show me where it says this in Krishna Dharma's book, and I'll write to Krishna Dharma and ask him. Not to confront. How is it that what was the source and what was the basis of your including that? Because he chose. In the preface or introduction to his book, he says specifically, my source was not only Valmiki Ramayana. He accepted other sources in his book. So why did he select that one? What was the source and why did he select it? Because I'd like to know, why he selected, not like, hey.
Thank you.
Yeah?
Thank you so much. I have two questions. The first one is, at the beginning of the session, you mentioned that about Govindaraj coming down the hill to meet with
No, Sri Shailapurna.
Sri Sri Shailpurna, coming down the hill to meet with Ramanujacharya. And basically his reasoning was that he couldn't see anyone who was
Less advanced.
than him. So I see that there is this quality of profound humility which of late I've been trying to cultivate and contemplating on a lot. So I'm particularly inspired by this particular pastime and want to
It's not you cultivate the quality, you cultivate Krishna consciousness, and the quality will be decorated. How's that? You cultivate the quality, but it's just going to be cosmetic. It won't be enduring and sustainable in all circumstances without the core Krishna consciousness. Okay?
I'm realizing that it depends on the quality of the chanting. Is that like it?
It's the quality of your Krishna consciousness which is awakened through the quality of your chanting. Next question.
You mentioned about Marichi Maharaj.
Keep going.
You mentioned about Marichi being killed by Lord
Maricha,
Ram.
not Marichi.
Maricha being killed by Lord Ram. We hear that generally demons who are killed by the Supreme Lord attain liberation.
That's right.
And so I wanted to understand, in this particular case, Maricha was not completely, he was not having enmity for the Lord, neither was he having devotion. So what is the kind of liberation that these kind of...
Well, what's the kind of liberation that Ravan got? What's the kind of liberation that Ravan got? He didn't go back to the spiritual world. He didn't merge either. Where did it go? Because after Ravan, what happened next? Huh? Yeah, Dantavakra. He didn't get liberation. So that kind of liberation is the state of neutrality. The sins were made zero. The reactions to sins were made zero. That kind. Now, I've inquired from scholarly devotees, where is that place where Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha went, and where's that place where Ravan and Kumbhakarna went? Until the next time, there's no scriptural reference to indicate where is that place they went. So, now back to Maricha. Where's that place he went to? He was released from sinful reaction for all the other, so many bad deeds. Okay? And the answer to the next question, I don't know. But that's the kind of liberation. Okay? Yes.
Answer to that question.
Answer to which question?
So it says that Prahlad Maharaj requested Lord Nrsimhadev to liberate his father.
It says what?
Prahlad Maharaj requested Lord Nrsimhadev to liberate his father. So when he asked for the boon.
To be excused from the reactions to his sins. That had already been achieved.
It's not that he was not liberated.
I speak louder, please.
Is it not that he was not liberated?
Oh, but let me ask you, what kind of liberation? And that's his question. And my answer, it's not like this is the right answer and any other answer falls into the garbage can. But he was released from the reactions of his past misdeeds, which were abundant. That kind of liberation. And where was that he went until the next time around? No scriptural reference, no Acharya comment that I'm aware of. Are you satisfied? You're like had your arms across your chest, like maybe you're not so satisfied.
I don't know if
I'm reading your body language. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Up front, yes?
So, all the Vedas, Upanishad, Srimad Bhagavatam, they was all written at the beginning of Kali Yuga, right? By Vyasa. They came in the
They were
written
written
form.
down, they were in their written form, yeah. They compiled in their written form.
But the Valmiki Ramayana is coming from Treta Yuga in the written form.
Oh yeah, long before. So,
It's just want to confirm, is that true?
yes,
Yeah.
long before.
So that's the oldest scripture we know in terms of written form.
Well, in terms of the written one. I have to think about that. At least we can say what you said. That much we can say. It was written before the Veda, before Vyasa compiled the Vedas in a written form. Valmiki Ramayana was written. That much I can say for sure. And the next question is, was there something before that? I don't know. I don't know. I have to think about it and research a little bit. Because that's what your question is,
Yeah,
isn't
that's
it?
the question is, and there is one more. Like during the Dwapar Yuga, entire Dwapar Yuga, were there any written scriptures?
Was there any what?
Were there any written scriptures that people used to refer? And
I've never been asked that question before. And, I don't know if any scriptural reference that says yes or no. The intuitive answer is no, because it was written when Valmiki wrote it. But that's not what your question is. Your question is, was there anything in a written form? One way or the other, I don't know.
Is Valmiki Ramayana is in the Treta Yuga, he wrote it or?
Valmiki Ramayana was what?
When he wrote it in the Treta Yuga or the...
He wrote it in Sanskrit.
Was it written in Treta Yuga is their question.
There's different views on this, but yeah. 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 Yes.
Thank you so much for explaining how Marichi was all the time because of fear of Ram. So Ram was, even in Sri, he was seeing Ram. And he said, why is it so hard for a person like me, especially, to see
We're distracted.
everywhere?
Why it's so hard? Because we're attached to the temporary, that's why. We're attached to the temporary. And trying to be the enjoyer of the temporary, that's why it's hard. It's not hard, but it's hard. Yes.
So when did Jaya went back actually after went back to Vaikuntha again after which part of their after they did not go back when
Who's
Ravana
they?
and Kumbhakarna.
Who's they?
Jaya.
Jai Vijay.
Yeah, Ravanasura and Kumbhakarna they did not go back.
Yeah.
And after Shishpala and Dantavakra, did they went back that time or when did they went
Yeah.
back to the...
Well, yeah. And not only that, what else is there? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and delivered.
They went back that time. Jagayana.
Jagamana. But there's a detail. You like details? Or you get confused when you hear details? Okay, I'll skip it. Someone else? Yes.
Maharaj, I had a question about the intermediary
About the which?
Intermediary, like you were saying that you do need an intermediary to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Intermediary, okay.
So the examples that come to, that were like we brought up about Marisha and Sugriva, so they had any like fear for Lord Rama. And Dhruva Maharaj, he also had actually anger before he went to seek Lord. So is it like if we have negative emotions, we need an intermediary who has love for God?
Your punchline was real fast, I didn't catch it.
Is
Just
it
not
like-
the whole thing, just the last part.
Yeah, is it like if we have negative emotions?
That's not a disqualifier.
No, so we need an intermediary who will have a positive emotions or
No, it doesn't
love
matter.
and devotion.
Let's say Suniti was the intermediary for Dhruva. Did Suniti have negative emotions? Yes. She felt hurt. We'll discuss it tomorrow night. Come tomorrow. Or read it in advance. She felt this and that and the other thing and the other thing and the other thing. She didn't react to it, but she was feeling those emotions. She took shelter of the personality of Godhead, and that helped her rise above those emotions that were just natural for a person to feel. So back to your question. What if you have negative emotions? Are you a loser? You'd say it like that. But is it possible for you to be an intermediary? Yes. Yes. All right? Just come tomorrow night. You'll see. Look, she's married, and she's not even in the house or the palace. She's off somewhere, and the king doesn't even know where she is, and the king doesn't even care where she is. Is she feeling some negative emotion? You bet. But she's accepting it. She said, Vishwanath says, in paraphrasing, my misfortune and my tears were written on my forehead from the time of birth. So if she's feeling all that stuff, why'd she stay? She stayed because she had another service. She stayed because she's the mother of the next king. The firstborn son will become the next king. So she's there to protect her son and to be a supermom. So she's bearing the misfortune and the negative emotion connected with the misfortune, because more important to her is her service to her son. And she's not in a get-back mood towards Uttanapada. She's not in a get-back mood towards Suruchi. She's just accepting, this is my circumstance. She's got a negative emotion, and she's handling it very well because of her faith in Vishnu and her service to her son. She's super. Most of us can't do what she did. Okay? Yeah?
All right. We talked about Kaikeyi, Mantara and Ravana, and said that Krishna inspired them to do what,
Shuparnaka.
and so inspired them to do what they did.
Yeah.
So, just wondering, is it just in the case of the special characters, or is it for everybody? Is it like that?
Is it like what?
I mean,
Inspiration, Krishna, this sounds like an earlier question. Super Soul is the inspiration for everyone. Here's, an example the Prabhupada gave. The cat is in the kitchen. And the cat waits till the housewife leaves the kitchen before the cat jumps up on the table to drink the milk. Super soul. Does that answer your question?
The point which I was feeling like when we say that Super Soul inspired them to do that, that means we are kind of releasing them of any ownership on what they did.
Oh, that's your question. No, it doesn't relieve them from ownership of what they did. Now, in the case of the Leela of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that's different than the cat jumping up on the table to get the milk. This is the internal potency acting directly, as opposed to the body of a cat being clever of how to get the milk, etc. That's the external potency. So in the case of internal potency, it's like Arjuna. Let's take Arjuna. His forgetting his position as the eternal associate of the personality of Godhead, Krishna, and being reluctant to perform what Krishna wanted, although he knew what Krishna wanted, and he knew what his duty was. He was reluctant. He's relieved of any of the responsibility for that hesitation. So in their case, there were other things going on in their case. Kaikeyi, this and that, mantra, this and that, Shuparnika, this and that. They had a mindset like they had. Like the analysis in Valmiki Ramayana was the nature of Kaikeyi. She was stubborn. She wasn't a worldly lady. She saw with affection Ram even more than her own son. That was her nature. But her nature became misled because of being stubborn and not worldly, not understanding what she was being worked over. So there was some part of her character that worked out very well for her to do what she did, to succumb to mantra's behavior. So it doesn't nullify the wrong that she did. She shouldn't have done what she did. Yes.
Govindaraja's question about why Maricha did not, as to why Maricha did not go and just surrender to Ram when he was sent.
He could have.
He could have. So you explained, or Govindaraj answers, you said that he was intermediary. I didn't catch.
There was no such person to tap Maricha on the shoulder and say, you know what, Maricha?
Oh, I see. Okay.
You don't have to be afraid of him.
Oh.
You have to take shelter of him, because then your purposes will be served.
Okay.
And he'll give you protection. You just surrender to him, he'll give you protection.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have that person.
Ah.
Someone carrying bhakti, passing bhakti.
Okay.
He didn't have that. Okay, so we're done. And I think we have an answer to the question I asked at the very beginning. Look around the room. When we started our class, there were very few people. But some of you had, things that you were taking care of at home or whatever. So thank you all for coming. So we can do this again at the Farmington Hills ISKCON Temple. An evening gathering. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His Holiness Prabhupada Maharaj ki jai.